Welcome back to CWM University, where we learn together. And today, we're going to take our learning all the way to Santa Fe, New Mexico. I flew into Albuquerque, New Mexico, and on my way into Albuquerque, I was looking at the windows and I was like, they have mountains here? I don't know why I didn't think that New Mexico would have mountains. I guess I never really considered it. Only thing I thought about when I heard I was going to New Mexico for work was, New Mexico? Oh goodness, ain't gonna be nothing to do. It's gonna be dry there. All I'm gonna see is cactuses and tumbleweeds. That's the only thing that was going through my head. But once I got there and got settled, what I saw really changed my perspective. When I used to go on walks after I would get off of work, I ran into the most beautiful plants and trees and flowers that I had ever seen. I was like, how they got this over here? Everything over here supposed to be brown and about dead, but it wasn't. I'm going to pop up the flowers that I saw. I'm gonna put them in categories by color, and then I'm gonna tell you what my favorite one is. Please keep in mind, I am not a plant expert, a tree expert, a flower expert. So the names I have is the names I found on Google. If they are wrong, feel free to comment and correct me in the comments. I'm going to show you the flowers, and then we're going to go over the trees that blew my mind, that I didn't think were going to be anywhere in New Mexico. My first category is purple. In the purple category, 3 flowers or 3 plants fell into that category. Now, these 3 are not anywhere close to being the same. They are even 3 different shades of purple, and I feel like they're all beautiful, and I would take them all, put them all in my flower bed. But the one that I like the most, before I say that, which one do you like the most? Out of these 3, put in the comments, which one in the purple category is your favorite? My favorite is this one. I like this flower just because it's like little cute flowers on this long stem. And I haven't seen that before. And I was like, this is beautiful. I had to stop and take a picture. Our next category is pink. Now, I'm still amazed that the shades of pink are even different. So there's 3 flowers that fall into our pink category. And yet again, they're totally different. Which one do you think is the most beautiful? If you just had to pick out of the 3, if you had to take one home, which one would you take home? Now, this one was a little harder for me because they're all cute. But I think the winner for me out of this category would have to be this one. It's just something about the flower opening that is just so cute. So cute. Now, just in case you don't know, I like outdoor flowers. And if you go down my channel, you will see that I've been to a couple botanical gardens just because I like to go look at outdoor plants. All right, our next category is red. I could only find 2 flowers that were red. We have the rose bush, and then we have the trumpet vine. And this rose bush is a little different than what I would think about when I hear the word rose, what I think a rose will look like. But they were just so beautiful. I keep saying beautiful before because they really wowed me. I was floored when I just was walking down the street and saw these plants. I was just like, still, what are you doing here? I just was shocked. But out of this category, out of the 2, I'm going to have to say I'm going to go with this one. This one is definitely my favorite. What about you? Are you a rose person, or have you even seen the trumpet vine? Did you even know that they exist? Now, our next plants, I'm going to put them in a category of white. Yes, they have more than just white in them, but I just feel like the majority of it is white. So we have 2 that fell into this category. And the yucca plant, when I first saw it, I was like, is it dead? Is it dying? Like, what's wrong with it? Does it need some water? It looks so sad, but even though to me it looks sad, it still is beautiful. But I was just like, maybe it's on its last leg, maybe it's not. I don't know. I've never seen this type of plant. And then our other one, it has like speckles of, I don't know if you call it pink and a little purple hue in it, but they're both really stunning. Now, out of these 2, the one I would have to say that was my favorite would definitely be the yucca plant. I was like, is it okay? I probably stood there and looked at that plant for a while. I'm pretty sure I even called my mom. I was like, Mom, look at this plant. You think it's alive? You think it's about to die? Because why is it drooping down? If you know the science behind the yucca plant, let us know, because I don't. I just thought it was very interesting when I saw it. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the other category, which is trees. I took pictures of 3 different types of trees while I was there, and I was amazed by these trees. The color of them. So we have the white one, the one that's giving more of a pink, and then we have this one that looks like, to me, it has peppers on it. Like, what is that? So, you know, I'm all in there trying to get a good picture of it, because I'm like, is that a pepper? Peppers growing on trees now? What's going on? But the colors that I saw while I was in New Mexico, I still to this day, I'm shocked, because I just really thought I was going to see browns and grays and just that stuff. And that's on me. But I just never took in consideration, because I never considered that I would ever go to New Mexico. Just not a place that I'm like, oh, this is on my list to go to. But as far as the trees category, it's kind of hard to pick which one I like the best. But I'm going to say the most unique one was the golden rain tree, because I really thought that was peppers that you could possibly take off the tree, because I didn't know. I never seen them. So let me know in the comments which one do you think is the most beautiful out of our tree category. So when I got to New Mexico, I told you I flew into Albuquerque. I drove down to Santa Fe because that's where I was working at. And of course, on my way from Albuquerque to Santa Fe, I was able to see very good views of the mountains. You know how when you go through a highway, if you ever been anywhere where mountains are, sometimes you're closer to them and sometimes you're farther away. So you get different views of them. But I worked in Santa Fe for the longest, and then I got reassigned to Las Vegas. And one day we went to Las Vegas just for a day trip to meet the other team that was down there. And I'm like, Las Vegas? Now, I'm not the best with geography, but I know Las Vegas, Nevada is nowhere close to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Are they going to fly us over there? You know, I'm getting on my phone like, let me just look it up. I did not know that there was a Las Vegas, New Mexico. Let me know if you knew there was Las Vegas, New Mexico. For some reason, when they started to name the cities in the United States, they gave that city name to multiple states. Why would you do that? Y'all couldn't be creative enough to come up with different names? So I really thought that, oh, okay, I like to go visit the office in Las Vegas. I'm about to go to Nevada. I'm about to have a time. Little did I know, the Las Vegas they were talking about was an hour away from Santa Fe. So after that initial visit, maybe like a few weeks later, they were saying that I was gonna go to that office every day to work. And I was not happy about that, because you have to go through mountains and little roads, and I'm not used to that. I grew up in a flat land and beaches. That's all I used to see. I didn't have to go drive through mountains and curves. And me personally, I never wanted to drive where I had to go through these curvy roads and through these mountains. I was scared, because I'm like, all it's gonna take is one little shake of the earth and all the boulders were gonna come down on my car. But I was not excited about going to work. But from leaving from Santa Fe to Las Vegas on the drive, every day the sky looks different. That's one thing I can say about New Mexico. The skies look different every day. The clouds, they're either really, really big and like almost in your face, or they're small in the distance. The sun looks different every time it rises from behind the mountains. Some days you get out there and you could see the mountains because it's a clear sky. Some days you couldn't because the clouds were covering it up. And I would tell God on my way to work, even though I didn't want to go out there, thank you for letting me see this beautiful scene on my way to work. It did make going to work a little easier, because I'm just like, it's beautiful out here. I can jam my music for my hour to work and see the scenes. But one thing I did start to notice, that on my way from Santa Fe to Las Vegas, the trees were smaller. They were shorter. Why are all the trees in New Mexico kind of short? Because like when I grew up, we had big old oak trees, big pine trees, tall, big. Out there, they're like closer to the ground. Only thing I could think of, because it's hot and they don't have enough water stored up to grow taller. I have no idea. But all the trees seem to be on the shorter side. Let me tell you this one little story. So the 3 cities I was basically in when I was working in New Mexico was Santa Fe, Las Vegas, and Albuquerque. Albuquerque was more of a city vibe. It was more what I was used to. It had the tall buildings, just a few, not a lot. Tall buildings. It had all the nice restaurants. That's where you can go if you want to get some good food. They had everything down in Albuquerque. And they had the mall. So one time I was off on the weekend and I decided to go to Albuquerque. And I put it back in my GPS to come back to Santa Fe. And it was gonna take like 2 hours to get back to Santa Fe. And I'm like, it only takes an hour. What's going on? Traffic was bad. So you know when traffic is bad, your GPS likes to reroute you. And I'm not from New Mexico. I didn't know any better. I was like, yeah, I want to get back in a little over an hour instead of 2 hours. So let's take the route. So instead of taking us down I-25, it took us down New Mexico 14, which I'm gonna pop it up on the screen so you can see where I was at. And I'm driving. This time, happen to have my mother with me. So I'm driving. I'm just trying to keep us both safe, get us back to Santa Fe. We get on this little back road. It says it's the most scenic, and they're right. You can see some good views from off of New Mexico 14. But never again in my life will I be driving on New Mexico 14. Because of the fact that when you get back there, when I tell you the roads are curvy, like in here going through the mountains, I'm talking about I feel sick. Like I really thought at some point I was going to have to stop the car and throw up. I felt sick. And then it gets to the point where like you're on these little 2-lane roads, and if you look over to the right, it's nothing there to save you. If your car goes over there, well, it's good knowing you. And I wasn't here for it. So I just want to let you know that if you ever are working in that area and you're coming back from Albuquerque and going back to Santa Fe, and it tries to reroute you to New Mexico 14, just be aware. Some people, you might have grew up in the mountains and you're good with the curvy roads and all that. But if you're not, I suggest you just stay back in Albuquerque and go find you something to eat. I don't know, walk around the mall again and just wait till traffic die down. Because, oh my goodness. Another thing that surprised me about working in Santa Fe, when I got there, previously I had looked up the altitude. Just to get some basis of kind of what I was going to go into. And we found out the altitude was 7,198 feet. Up in the air. What? So when I got there, and they was doing tours of like the building I was gonna work in, I was meeting people I was gonna be working with, they were saying that the altitude can mess with how you breathe. I remember one of the guys that came with us, he left because he said he couldn't work there because he had some kind of condition that being up that high was gonna mess with his lungs, and he had to go home. And I was like, what in the world is going on? So, you know, I was doing more research about how they're saying that some people go to Santa Fe to train to get their lungs good because it's harder to breathe up there. So it helps you whatever long distance running and things like that that you may do. So one of the coworkers that I met, he said that he bought a can of oxygen from Walgreens. I said, what? Walgreens sell a can of oxygen? Not the Walgreens I live by don't have no can of oxygen. What are you talking about? So I was just like, you lying. I told that man, I just met the man, you lying. He pulls out a can of oxygen out his backpack. He was like, yeah, sometimes when I feel like I can't breathe good, I just inhale this. I said, what? It was hilarious until it wasn't. Until I started waking up and my nose was bleeding. I started waking up and couldn't breathe correctly. I feel like breathe good, so I went and bought me a can of oxygen. I was like, maybe I need to be inhaling oxygen. I know that depending on where you live at in the States or in the nation, that altitude may not affect you. But I live closer to sea level than anything, so that really did a number on me. And also being up there high is a lot drier than I was used to. It's not really humid, it's just like dry. And after being up there a while, because I stayed in New Mexico on and off because I got to go home sometimes and come back to work, roughly like 6 months. So I was there for a while and my skin was really dry. I'll put on like my different creams and stuff and it was soaking right up. You'll think I didn't. I had to reapply during the day. I would get out the shower, straight out the shower, and then look at my skin. It's like I just went and rolled in some flour. Like, what? Why am I so ashy? And my hair was super dry. It just was soaking up all the moisture. But what I did realize is anytime I would go to Albuquerque, I would feel better. I could breathe better because the elevation in Albuquerque is much lower than it is in Santa Fe. But that's just something to also be aware of if you ever go to New Mexico and go to these cities. When you go to Santa Fe, the elevation is very high. And if you're from somewhere that's either close to sea level or below sea level, your breathing and how you feel up there will possibly affect you if you're there for an extended time. My mom came for a week, she didn't have as many issues as I did. But if you're there for an extended amount of time, your body's gonna be like, hey, what's going on? I can't breathe right. Everything's a little dry. What's going on? If you watched my video about Kentucky, you can go back on my channel and watch it. You know that in Kentucky, when I was working, I stayed in a lot of hotels. I stayed in Santa Fe around 6 months. While I was there, I stayed in a lot of these hotels. I only stayed in 3. First hotel I stayed in was the Comfort Inn. I stayed in there 2 days. 2 days. I got there, I looked around, and it was so dark in those rooms. Everything was dark about it. And I'm like, this is my first time working from home and having been there for my steady time. I can't come back to no hotel that's dark. I have a thing about dark hotels. I do not like them. And also, when I got there, the people at the desk were trying to play me. I didn't have an account for Comfort Inn. The girl was like, do you want to sign up for an account so you can get points for your hotel stay? And I was like, yeah, sure. So she signed it up. Coming to find out, she signed it up so she could get the points. So you were trying to play me. You was about to try to get all my points for me staying at this hotel. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, after 2 days, I had to go. I had to find another hotel. So then I moved to the Hyatt. And the Hyatt was nice. It was very well lit. I had good views of the mountains, which I thought, I was like, this is beautiful. I could wake up every morning, open my blinds, and look at the mountains. I had like a living room area, the room, and the bathroom. The only complaint I have about that hotel is you had to basically beg them to come clean your room and like be on top of them, like, hey, can you come and clean my room today? Kind of thing. Also, the breakfast. They had the same exact thing for breakfast, except for like one thing that will switch out. Like instead of having boiled eggs, they might have scrambled eggs, like something like that. But at the Hyatt, the people at the front desk, I can say they were really nice and very helpful. And then eventually I moved to the Hampton Inn. And the Hampton Inn wasn't as big as the Hyatt. It didn't have as much room, but still it was good lighting in there. I didn't have any issues with getting my room clean or anything there. Their breakfast, they didn't really have a big variety. Sometimes I would eat breakfast downstairs, and then most times I was going to like Burger King, getting a 2 for $5. Every once in a while, I would go to this place. They sold burritos, and I would eat that. But I can't say that there was any place in Santa Fe that I was just like, wow, about the food. I guess it wasn't my type of food. Let's get into my experiences with the people in those 3 cities. So I can only speak for Santa Fe, Las Vegas, and Albuquerque. There's only 3 cities that I basically was in. For Santa Fe, the people there, exclusive of my coworkers, because everybody I work with, for the most part, were cool. I didn't have any issues. But what I did notice when I was out in the city, people looked at me different. Granted, in Santa Fe, I would be the eyeball out because I'm black. And everybody in Santa Fe is not. So, I already knew I was going to stand out. But the interesting thing was when I went to their Walmart, I felt like I was being followed and people were watching me. And I was just like, this is weird. But sometimes I'm like, I'm tripping. So one time I went back to work, I was talking to my coworkers, and they was like, oh no, if you go to this certain Walmart, they're going to follow you around and stuff because they're black like me. So that wasn't a great experience. I walked around a lot just to get my exercise in and to get some fresh air. And one time I was crossing the road and I was coming up with this couple that didn't look like me. And the woman was closest to me. The man was on the other side. When they got closer to me, the man switched spaces with the woman as if I wanted to do something to the woman. What am I gonna do? So then after I passed them, as we crossing across the highway, he switched back places as they got to the other side of the road. I was like, well, that's weird. It's just like little things like that were weird. When you go to like restaurants in there, I didn't have like the best experience. They were just kind of nice. I'm like, okay. And then when I would go to work at the Las Vegas office, most of the people there at that office were locals. So they already had their established groups. So the people that I got along with the most were the people that were like me, contract workers coming in and helping out. And not really the people that were locals there because they weren't too keen on us being there, which I thought was interesting as well. But then when you go to Albuquerque, it's like night and day. There's more black people down in Albuquerque. And just the people in general. Like, no matter what race, what color, what creed, whatever, the people in general in Albuquerque were a lot nicer. They see me, they didn't look like they just saw something out of the Amazon come out the bushes. You know, it wasn't like a shock to their system. So I'm not saying that they don't like people that look like me in Santa Fe and Las Vegas. I'm just giving you my experience of what happened while I was there. If I had to go back to New Mexico, I would definitely go to Albuquerque. Albuquerque is more of a city vibe. The people are a lot nicer. There's more things to do. Another thing that surprised me was Santa Fe is the capital of New Mexico. When you go to the capital of the state, usually the city is worse than any surrounding city. And what I mean is worse is different crimes going on. They had a lot of my coworkers got their cars broken into at their hotels. And I don't know why. Maybe because it's just the capital. That's things they were doing. So certain hotels, they were just breaking into people's cars. And I'm not sure if they had things in their cars. And so, you know, if you leave things in your car, people are like, yeah, if I want it, I'm going to get it. And that's what was happening. I didn't experience a break-in my car. But I also never left anything in my car. I also noticed that there were a lot of people that were on drugs. And not that people around the city was on drugs, but you know, you'll go different places and then people are just like stuck in the road, like bent over. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? Or if you go to the CVS and the Walgreens, that's where they used to like to hang out. And it was just a different experience for me to see that. Even though I live in a big city and I see homelessness, I see people on drugs, it was just a different experience. I felt like I was in a movie, to be honest with you. But I guess it was just a reminder that every beautiful place still has their challenges and their struggles and the things that their community is dealing with. My whole reason for being in New Mexico in general was because I came there for work. But I did leave New Mexico with more of an appreciation of the beautiful plants and flowers that they do have to offer and the views. Because the mountains and the sunsets and sunrises, you can't beat it. Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced these cities. How did you feel about them? Did you get to see any of the plants and trees that I posted? How did you feel about the mountains? Did you get to see the sunrise, the sunsets, and the clouds? Let us know in the comments. Also, let me know what you'd be interested in even going if you have never been. Now, I can't say that I ever go back to Santa Fe or Las Vegas unless somebody else paid for it. But I can say I was blessed to meet some coworkers that I still talk to, and I would have never met them if I never went to New Mexico. Thank you so much for taking your time out to watch this video. I hope that you learned something. Make sure that you like this video, share with somebody that you may think is interesting, or just so they can know about New Mexico. So if you're not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe. It's free. Enrollment is always open at the university. And you already know. Until next time.